Hello, this is my project for the Healthcare Financial Management class. Rehabilitation after an illness or injury is extremely important for the health of a patient. Rehabilitation centers offer distinct advantages in patient level of care over nursing homes and assisted living facilities. These advantages include patients having a higher chance of recovery. Rehabilitations can make the difference for patients who have had a stroke. According to a study done by Duncan in 2002, stroke patients who received care in rehabilitation hospitals instead of nursing homes were more likely to return to the community. They actually had improved functional status. There are some issues facing healthcare, such as nurse shortages and doctor burnout. It is very common in individuals who work taking care of critically ill patients, such as patients who are in rehabilitation centers or long-term care. The syndrome occurs because of decreased quality of care and reduced patient satisfaction. People who are in rehabilitation centers for long-term care will be there for a while, and it makes the staff feel bad if they're doing everything they can and the patient is still not getting better. In 2015, a survey was done by the American Medical Association about burnout syndrome. They surveyed 6,880 doctors. Among the 5 top specialties with the highest rates of burnout were rehabilitation and physical medicine doctors. Another report showed that even staff suffers from burnout syndrome, with 41.5% of nurse care managers, 32% of licensed practical nurses, and 35.7% of administrative clerks also suffering from it. Burnout syndrome can affect the mental health and physical well-being of critical care physicians, nurses, and other healthcare professionals. It can also cause chronic and excessive stress, which can then turn into increased fatigue, anxiety, depression, insomnia, feeling pressure, and becoming irritable. HealthSouth Corporation is one of the nation's largest providers of post-acute healthcare services. They are the industry leader in home-based patient care. According to their website, their goal is to deliver high-quality patient care, and our team of experts has extensive experience in today's most advanced therapeutic methods and technologies. They go above and beyond to provide services that are not required or provided at average nursing homes. They provide frequent visits by a rehabilitation physician, most often a physiatrist, especially nursing training, weekly team conference, collaborative team approach, state-of-the-art therapy gyms and rehabilitation technology, and leading-edge rehabilitation expertise. Other nursing homes don't have a minimum of therapy, but HealthSouth requires a minimum of 3 hours a day of physical therapy, occupational therapy, and/or speech therapy of at least 5 times per week. There are some nursing homes where Medicare patients might not see a physician more than once a week, but at HealthSouth, they are seen at least 3 times a week. A SWOT analysis was done for the industry of rehabilitation centers. Some strengths are that rehabilitation centers continue to thrive due to Medicare reimbursements. The industry actually had operators leave because they were not able to make up revenue after the recession. Rehabilitation centers will always be needed as their population continues to age. The industry revenue is estimated at $30 billion with an annual growth of 5% or higher. There are almost 400,000 employees and 38,000 businesses. There are some weaknesses, though. After the healthcare reform, some plans became more expensive, and it is harder for patients to pay their deductibles, co-insurance, and co-payments, making some patients not want to seek help and/or leave an open balance with the company. Some plans only allow a number of visits per year. For example, when I broke my ankle, I could only see a therapist 20 times a year, but obviously I needed more. Not everyone has long-term care in their insurance plan. Opportunities in the industry show that the industry will continue to grow. Americans are starting to care more about their health and listen to doctors. They are also getting into fitness and want to take care of themselves when they get injured. Some threats facing the industry are the increase in labor costs. Many rehabilitation centers require round-the-clock care, causing more overtime costs. There are always new developments in medicine and rehabilitation, so companies have to spend money on continuing education, new machines, and hiring more staff. A SWOT analysis was also done on HealthSouth Corp. The strengths are that it has centers all over the United States, including Puerto Rico. It continues to have an increase in profits and revenue. Another strength is that now patients have both Medicare and Medicaid dual plans with long-term care. It is hard for new competitors since startup costs are relatively high. Weaknesses include high investment in research and development. meaning that they have to put money into creating new and innovative products and add features to old products. Opportunities include being able to get centers that are sold by companies who are not making revenue. Rehabilitation is needed everywhere so the company can expand globally. Threats include increase in rates of interest and loans. There is now a higher competition due to companies who sold their rehabilitation centers, and with the new insurance plans, there is lower profitability. HealthSouth Corp has actually been doing pretty excellent for the past 5 years, even after the $2.8 billion accounting scandal of committing fraud which occurred from 1996 to 2002. Regulations were so different that for the CFOs it was easier to commit fraud. In 2016, the company made almost $4 billion, which means that in just the first half of this fiscal year, at almost $2 billion, the company is now on the right track to exceed last year's revenue. The company continues to bring in an excellent amount of cash from operations, and the total assets continue to grow as the years pass by. In just 1 year, from 2015 to 2016, there was a sales growth of 17.2%. In 2006, its stock was relisted on the New York Stock Exchange. At the end of the second quarter this year, the profit margin was 8.3% compared to 2016, 10.3%, meaning the company is doing even better. The operating margin of 25% is considered favorable. The profit margin could be better to be favorable to investors. The profit could be increased by cutting down on overtime. Since HealthSouth has nurses on hand 24 hours a day, there should be nurses doing 8-hour shifts and not going into overtime unless needed. The company also needs to make sure that the facilities are being resourceful and paying attention to utility bills. The return on equity for the ending year of 2016 was 44.6%. The average return on equity of healthcare industries at 13.97%. It is hard to keep up with so many centers over the United States, but management and governing board is doing a great job since the company made $3.71 billion in 2016 and had 36,000 employees in 2016. Here you will see the ratio analysis of this year up to June 30th, 2017, 2016, 15, 14, 13, with some comparisons in between the end of the second quarter of this year and last year's. Here you will continue to see the company trends. You can see by this chart how 4 years ago, they were almost the same, and it continues growing, and here in the current year, they are more than halfway to exceed last year's revenue. Here you will see the income to cash flow comparison, showing that the cash flow continues to increase also. Ratio analysis creates and analyzes ratios from financial statements to help assess a business's financial condition. These numbers matter when compared to other companies in the same industry. Sales growth is a percentage change in sales between two time periods. For HealthSouth, it is negative 47.5 at the end of the second quarter of 2017. If the number does not get better, then the pricing policy may need to adjust to keep up with the cost. Profit margin measures the ability of organization to generate revenues from all sources and to control expenses. This ratio measures your ability to cover all operating costs, including indirect costs. Profit margin is 8.4%, which means the company makes 8.4 cents on each dollar of revenue. The return on equity is the rate of return on investment by shareholders. This is one of the most important ratios to investors. 14.6% means that 14.6 cents of income for each dollar of equity investment is produced. The current ratio measures your ability to meet short-term obligations with short-term assets. Failure to pay loans on time may limit the future access to credit and therefore the ability to leverage operations and growth. A ratio less than 1 may indicate liquidity issues. A very high current ratio may mean there is excess cash or too much inventory. 1.41 is a current ratio. Immediate liquidation would provide $1.41 of cash for every $1 of current liabilities. The fixed asset turnover is how efficiently the business generates sales on each dollar of assets. If the ratio increases, it means the assets are being used productively. 0.5 of each dollar of fixed assets generates 50 cents in total revenue. The fixed asset turnover ratio varies throughout every sector and should only be compared to other companies within the same sector. If a company has a higher fixed asset turnover ratio than its competitors, it shows that the company is effectively using its fixed assets to generate sales better than its competitors. The debt to total assets ratio is an indicator of financial leverage. It tells you the percentage of total assets that were financed by creditors, liabilities, debt, etc. A ratio greater than 1 shows that a considerable portion of assets are being funded with debt, while a low ratio indicates that the bulk of asset funding is coming from equity. A ratio greater than 1 also indicates that a company may be putting itself at risk of not being able to pay back its debts. The debt to total ratio is 0.68. Compared to HCA Healthcare, they both had 100% in growth profit from the year before. HCA has so far made half of the revenue they made last year. HealthSouth had profit margin of 8.4 compared to 0.3, seems to make less per dollar of revenue. HCA has 21.6 return on equity and 33.23 current ratio. HCA debt to total assets is 0.84. The times interest earned ratio is a measure of a company's ability to honor its debt payments, with HealthSouth having 3.84 and HCA having 4.25. HCA Healthcare obviously has more revenue and makes more. Here you will see the HealthSouth Corporation compared to the HCA Healthcare. And here are the ratios. In conclusion, HCA has 174 hospitals and 119 freestanding surgery centers, while HealthSouth has in 36 states. HealthSouth offers facility-based and home-based post-acute services in rehabilitation hospitals, home health agencies, and hospice agencies. HCA does not have any offices in Puerto Rico, like HealthSouth does. The difference between these two is that HCA actually has hospitals and surgery centers, while HealthSouth does not have any surgery centers, which can show why HCA makes more money. The medical field is going to continue to grow, and people will always need rehabilitation. Looking at the income statement, the balance sheet, and the stock returns, it shows that the company is going to continue to move forward and will continue to do even better. Thank you for tuning in to my project.